My older brother actually pushed me down our concrete basement stairs when I was 13 years old during a fight over the TV remote, causing me to break my arm and get a concussion that required 3 days in the hospital. When I told my mother what happened, she just looked at me with disgust and said, "Good, maybe now you'll stop being such a bratty little attention seeker," before going back to watching her shows and refusing to even visit me in the hospital. My name is Lily Washington and I'm 28 years old now. But this story takes me back to when I was 13 and learned exactly what my family thought of me. You know how some people say blood is thicker than water? Yeah, that's complete garbage when your blood would rather see you bleeding on concrete basement stairs. It was a humid Tuesday evening in July, and my older brother Ryan had been hogging our ancient television all day, flipping between basketball highlights and music videos. I'd been waiting patiently for 3 hours to watch my show, just one 30-minute program. That's all I wanted. When I finally asked, "Ryan, can I please watch my show now?" he didn't even look at me. "Find something else to do, little girl. I was here first." His voice carried that dismissive tone that always made my stomach clench. But I'd had enough of being invisible in my own house. I reached for the remote sitting on the coffee table between us. "I just want 30 minutes, Ryan. You've been watching for hours." The moment my fingers touched that plastic remote, everything changed. Ryan lunged forward, his face twisted with rage like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. "Don't you dare touch that," he screamed, grabbing my wrist so hard I could feel his fingerprints burning into my skin. I pulled back, clutching the remote, and that's when he did something that still haunts my nightmares 15 years later. He shoved me hard, with both hands. Time slowed as I stumbled backward toward the open basement door. I remember thinking stupidly that I could catch myself, that somehow my 13-year-old reflexes could save me from what was about to happen. But gravity doesn't care about hope and concrete doesn't forgive. I tumbled down those stairs like a rag doll, my body bouncing off each step with sickening thuds. The remote flew from my hand, clattering somewhere in the darkness below. My left arm twisted beneath me as I hit the basement floor, and I heard the bones snap, a sound like breaking a pencil but wetter, more final. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. My head felt like it was splitting open where it had cracked against the concrete steps. Blood trickled down my face, warm and metallic tasting when it reached my lips. But worse than the physical agony was the sound of Ryan's laughter echoing down the stairwell. "Damn, Lily. Maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to be tough." His voice was gleeful, like he'd just scored the winning shot in a basketball game. I tried to call out, to tell him I couldn't move my arm, that everything was spinning and wrong, but only a weak whimper escaped my throat. Mom's voice drifted from the kitchen, barely concerned. "What's all that noise? Y'all better not be breaking anything in my house." She didn't even come to check. Didn't wonder why her daughter hadn't answered. Ryan just called back, "Lily fell down the stairs. She's fine." Lying there in the dark, tasting my own blood and cradling my broken arm, I realized something that would shape the next 15 years of my life. I was completely alone. It took 20 minutes for anyone to come check on me. 20 minutes of lying on that cold concrete floor, drifting in and out of consciousness while my broken arm throbbed and my head pounded like someone was taking a sledgehammer to my skull. When Mom finally appeared at the top of the stairs, her silhouette backlit by the kitchen light, I felt a surge of relief. "Mama," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I think my arm is broken." Ryan pushed me in. "What did you say?" Her tone wasn't concerned. It was annoyed, like I was interrupting her favorite TV show. She descended the stairs slowly, each footstep echoing in the basement like a judge's gavel. When she reached me, I expected comfort, maybe panic, certainly a rush to get me medical attention. Instead, she looked down at me with an expression I'll never forget, pure, undisguised disgust. Her lip curled like she was looking at something dirty she'd stepped in. "You're telling me Ryan pushed you down here?" She crossed her arms, tapping her foot impatiently. I nodded weakly, trying to sit up but failing as pain shot through my ribs. "Yes, Mama. We were fighting over the remote and he shoved me. I think I have a concussion. Everything keeps spinning in." "Good." The word hit me harder than the concrete had. "Maybe now you'll stop being such a bratty little attention seeker. Always starting drama, always trying to cause problems between me and Ryan." I stared at her, certain I'd misheard through my concussion. "Mama, please. I need to go to the hospital." "My arm. You need to stop lying and making your brother look bad." Ryan wouldn't hurt a fly. She turned toward the stairs, dismissing me like I was nothing. Clean yourself up and stop being so dramatic. I've got my stories to watch. As her footsteps faded back up the stairs, leaving me alone in the dark again, I understood that the fall had broken more than just my arm. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door found me the next morning. She'd come over to borrow some sugar and heard me crying through the basement window. When she saw me, still in the same bloody clothes, my arm bent at an impossible angle, dried blood caked in my hair, she didn't hesitate. Dios mío. Lily, baby, what happened to you? Her voice cracked with genuine concern, something I hadn't heard in my own house in years. She helped me up those stairs, her gentle hands supporting my weight as I stumbled. Where is your mother, Mija? She asked as she wrapped a clean towel around my bleeding head. I just shook my head, unable to explain that my mother was upstairs sleeping off her hangover, that she'd looked at her broken daughter and said, "Good." Mrs. Rodriguez drove me to the emergency room in her old Honda, talking softly in Spanish and English, telling me everything would be okay. The doctors took x-rays and confirmed what I already knew. My left arm was broken in 2 places, and I had a severe concussion that could have killed me if left untreated. Where are your parents? Dr. Williams asked, his brow furrowed as he studied my chart. We need guardian consent for treatment, and you should have been brought in hours ago. Head injuries can be very serious. I gave them my mother's number, watching from my hospital bed as they made call after call. When she finally answered, I could hear her irritated voice through the phone. Can't this wait? I'm busy. Just do whatever needs doing. 3 days. I spent 3 days in that hospital room, watching other kids get visited by worried parents, receiving flowers and balloons and concerned relatives. My bedside table remained empty except for the water pitcher and a small plant Mrs. Rodriguez brought on day 2. Ryan never came. Mom never came. I was 13 years old, alone in a hospital bed, and learning that some families aren't worth having. When I finally came home, my left arm in a bright blue cast and my head still pounding with every heartbeat, I found Ryan holding court in our living room with his friends. They were laughing about something, passing around a bag of chips and acting like nothing had happened. Oh look, the drama queen returns, Ryan announced when he saw me standing in the doorway. His friends, Jerome, Daquan, and Terrell, turned to look at me with amused grins. Check out that cast, y'all. Lily here learned what happens when you try to step to someone bigger than you. Jerome whistled low. Damn, Ryan, you really did that? Sent her flying down the stairs. The admiration in his voice made my stomach turn. You should have seen it, man. She came at me trying to grab the remote, talking about she wanted to watch her little kiddie shows. I was like, nah, little sis, this is how real life works. Ryan stood up, demonstrating the push with exaggerated motions. Boom. Down she went, crying like a baby. They all erupted in laughter. Daquan slapped Ryan on the back. Yo, you showed her who runs this house. Bet she won't try that again. Please, Ryan scoffed, looking directly at me. She knows her place now. Don't you, Lily? His eyes dared me to contradict him, to speak up, to defend myself. But I was 13, concussed, and my own mother had already made it clear whose side she was on. I turned and walked to my room, their laughter following me down the hall like a pack of hyenas. Through my thin bedroom wall, I could hear Ryan regaling them with more details, embellishing the story, making himself sound like some kind of hero for putting his little sister in her place. That night, I lay in my narrow bed and made a promise to myself. Someday, somehow, I would never be powerless again. The headache started 2 weeks after I came home from the hospital. Blinding, nauseating pain that would strike without warning, leaving me curled up on my bedroom floor, praying for it to stop. The doctors had warned about post-concussion symptoms, but when I told Mom about them, she just rolled her eyes. You're fine, Lily. Stop milking this for attention. She was applying her makeup in the bathroom mirror, getting ready for another night out with her boyfriend Kenny. Dr. Williams said you'd be perfectly normal in a few weeks. But Mama, sometimes I can't even see straight. Yesterday in math class I threw up and I'm sure you made a big show of it too, didn't you? She snapped her compact shut and turned to face me. Let me tell you something, little girl. I know what you're doing. You think if you keep playing victim I'm going to baby you and give you special treatment. Well, that's not how this house works. When Aunt Carmen called to check on me, I could hear Mom's version of events through the kitchen wall. Oh, she's fine. Just being dramatic as usual. You know how kids are. Ryan barely touched her and she went tumbling down there like she was made of paper. Now she's walking around here with that cast, making sure everyone sees it, talking about headaches and nightmares. The nightmares were real though. Every night, I'd relive that moment when Ryan's hands connected with my chest, feel myself falling backward into empty air. I'd wake up screaming, my sheets soaked with sweat, and Mom would bang on my bedroom wall and yell for me to shut up. At school, when teachers asked about my cast, Mom had coached me on what to say. Tell them you fell down the stairs playing around. Don't mention Ryan at all. We don't need social services sniffing around here because you can't keep your mouth shut. So I lied. Over and over, I protected the brother who'd broken my bones and the mother who'd called it good. Because I was 13 and scared and didn't understand yet that loyalty has to be earned, not demanded. College was my escape route. While Ryan dropped out of high school and Mom cycled through boyfriends and jobs, I buried myself in books and dreams of a different life. Every A on every test was proof that I was more than the bratty attention seeker they'd labeled me. I worked 2 jobs through college. Mornings at a coffee shop, evenings cleaning office buildings. My cast had long since come off, but sometimes on cold days, my left arm still ached where the bones had healed slightly crooked. A permanent reminder of the day my family showed me exactly what I meant to them. Real estate chose me as much as I chose it. During my junior year internship at a property management company, I discovered I had an eye for potential, seeing what others missed, finding value in overlooked properties. More importantly, I learned that land doesn't lie. Buildings don't betray you. Success in real estate comes down to hard work, smart decisions, and never backing down from a negotiation. By 25, I owned my first property. By 27, I had a small portfolio of renovated homes that I rented to young professionals. By 28, I just closed a deal on a downtown commercial building that would cement my reputation as someone to watch in the industry. $8 million. That's what I was worth now, according to my financial advisor. Not bad for a bratty little attention seeker who'd learned her place on concrete basement stairs. I bought a house in the hills. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a kitchen with marble countertops, and a view that took my breath away every morning. Sometimes I'd stand on my back deck with my coffee, looking down at the city below, and remember that scared 13-year-old girl lying alone in a hospital bed. I never forgot. Not the fall, not the laughter, not the nights Mom told relatives I was being dramatic for sympathy. Every success was fuel, every deal was proof that they'd been wrong about me. Grandma Pearl was the only one who ever really saw me. While Mom complained about my attention-seeking, and Ryan dismissed me as his annoying little sister, Grandma Pearl would sit with me on her front porch, listening to my dreams and telling me stories about strong women who'd come before us. You got something special in you, baby girl, she'd say, her weathered hands gentle as she braided my hair. Don't let anybody dim that light. Not your mama, not your brother, not nobody. When Grandma Pearl moved into Sunrise Manor Nursing Home 3 years ago, I was the only one who visited regularly. Every Sunday I'd bring her favorite butterscotch candies and fresh flowers, and we'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. Mom was always too busy, and Ryan claimed the place smelled like death and gave him the creeps. They don't understand that this is temporary, Grandma Pearl told me one Sunday, gesturing around her small room. But family, real family, that's forever. Remember that, Lily. When I'm gone, you'll know who really loved you by who shows up. She passed peacefully on a Tuesday morning in March. I was holding her hand, had been there all night after the nurses called to say she was declining. Mom showed up 20 minutes after Grandma Pearl took her last breath, crying loudly and dramatically about how much she was going to miss her mother. Ryan didn't come at all. The will reading was scheduled for the following Friday. I expected maybe a piece of jewelry, perhaps a small keepsake to remember her by. What I didn't expect was Attorney Henderson clearing his throat and announcing, Pearl Washington leaves her entire estate, including her home, savings accounts, investments, and personal property, to her granddaughter Lily Washington, with the explanation, she was the only one who remembered I was still alive. The room went dead silent. Mom's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and finally rage. That can't be right, she whispered. I'm her daughter. Ryan is her grandson. She wouldn't. But she had. Grandma Pearl's estate was worth nearly $2 million. Combined with my business assets, I was now worth over $10 million. More importantly, I finally understood what Grandma Pearl meant about knowing who really loved you. The first call came 3 days after the will reading. I was in my home office, reviewing contracts for a new property acquisition, when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in 5 years. Lily, baby, I've been trying to reach you. Her voice was sugar-sweet, the tone she used when she wanted something. I know we haven't talked much lately, but I wanted to see how you're doing with Grandma Pearl's passing. It's been so hard on all of us. I leaned back in my leather chair, looking out at my view of the city lights. Has it? You seemed to handle it fine when you didn't visit her for the last 8 months of her life. Don't be like that, baby. You know I was working double shifts trying to make ends meet. I wanted to visit, but... What do you want, Mom? The sweetness cracked slightly. Can't a mother call to check on her daughter? I heard about Grandma Pearl's will, and I know this must be overwhelming for you. All that money, all that responsibility. Maybe we should talk about how to handle it properly. I almost laughed. Handle it properly? Like how you handled me properly when I was 13 and Ryan broke my arm. Dead silence on the other end. Lily, that was a long time ago. We were all going through difficult times. Ryan was just a teenager, you know how kids can be. And I was dealing with so much stress. You told me it was good that he broke my arm. You said maybe I'd stop being such a bratty little attention seeker. I never said that. The indignation in her voice was almost believable. Almost. Mom, I may have had a concussion, but I remember every single word you said to me in that basement. Every word you said about me to other people. Every single night you let Ryan laugh about putting me in my place. Another long pause. When she spoke again, the sweetness was completely gone. Fine. We all made mistakes. But we're family, Lily. Blood is thicker than water. Grandma Pearl would want you to take care of your family. Ryan called an hour later. I let it go to voicemail the first time, then the second. The third time, curiosity got the better of me. Yo, sis. His voice was different now, humble in a way I'd never heard before. I heard about Grandma Pearl's will. That's really something. I know she always loved you special. Ryan. I kept my voice neutral, professional. It's been a while. Yeah, I know. Look, I've been meaning to reach out, you know? Life just gets in the way sometimes. But I think about you, about us growing up together. Remember how we used to watch cartoons on Saturday mornings? I remembered Saturday mornings. I remembered him hogging the TV then too, remembered being told to find something else to do because whatever he wanted to watch was more important. What do you want, Ryan? He sighed and I could hear the mask slipping. Hey, look, I'm gonna be straight with you. I'm in a tight spot right now. Real tight. I lost my job at the warehouse last month and my landlord's talking about eviction. I got nowhere to turn, Lily. You're the only family I got. Family. I let the word hang in the air between us. Yeah, family. And I know we had our differences when we were kids, but that's all water under the bridge now, right? We're adults. We're blood. And blood looks out for blood. I found myself standing, pacing across my hardwood floors. Tell me, Ryan, do you remember the last time you saw me before today's phone call? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. Do you remember the last conversation we had? The last time you were in the same room as me. Long pause. Lily, I don't really remember. It was at Grandma Pearl's birthday party 4 years ago. You walked right past me like I didn't exist. Didn't say hello, didn't acknowledge me at all. When Grandma Pearl asked why you weren't talking to your sister, you said, and I quote, "What sister? I don't have a sister here." Come on, Lily, I was probably just drunk. Yeah, you were. But drunk words are sober thoughts, aren't they? Look, we're both in bad spots here. Mom's voice came through the speakerphone as I sat in my office the next morning. She'd called at 7 a.m., waking me up with her desperation. Ryan got his eviction notice yesterday, and my landlord's been calling non-stop about back rent. We need help, Lily. Family help. I pulled up my bank statements on my computer screen while she talked. $10.3 million. More money than either of them would see in a lifetime of working. Money that represented 15 years of 18-hour days, of proving everyone wrong, of building something from nothing while they continued their patterns of destruction. How much do you need? I asked quietly. Hope crept into her voice. Well, Ryan needs about $3,000 to get caught up on rent and avoid eviction. And I could really use maybe $5,000 to get back on my feet. $8,000 total, baby. That's nothing to someone with your kind of money. $8,000. When I was 13, lying in that hospital bed, $8,000 might as well have been $8 million. It was groceries for months, medicine for my headaches, maybe even therapy to deal with the nightmares that still haunted my sleep 15 years later. "And if I give you this money?" I asked. "Then we can be a real family again." The eagerness in her voice made me sick. "We could have Sunday dinners, maybe take trips together. Ryan has been talking about how much he misses his little sister. We could all be close again like we should have been all along." "Ryan misses me?" I laughed, and it was not a pleasant sound. The same Ryan who bragged to his friends about breaking my arm? The same Ryan who called me a drama queen for having concussion symptoms? That Ryan misses me. People change, Lily. He's grown up. We all have. Have you, Mom? Have you really grown up? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like the only thing that's changed is that I have money now and you need it. Her voice sharpened. "Don't you dare take that tone with me, young lady. I'm still your mother." "Are you?" Three-way call. Mom had connected Ryan without asking, and suddenly I had both of them on the line, tag-teaming me with guilt and manipulation tactics that might have worked on a 13-year-old girl but had no power over the woman I'd become. "Lily, come on now," Ryan was saying. "We're blood, you have to help us. Family sticks together no matter what. Grandma Pearl would roll over in her grave if she knew you were letting us suffer when you could help." And there was the line I'd been waiting for him to cross. Family sticks together? My voice was deadly quiet. "Let me ask you something, Ryan. When I was lying on that concrete basement floor with my arm broken in 2 places, were we family then?" "Lily. When you bragged to Jerome and Daquan and Terrell about how you put me in my place, were we family then?" "That was different, we were just kids." When Mom looked at her 13-year-old daughter with a concussion and a broken arm and said, "Good, maybe now you'll stop being such a bratty little attention seeker, were we family then?" Silence on both ends of the line. I spent 3 days in the hospital alone. 3 days. You know who visited me? Mrs. Rodriguez from next door. She brought me a plant and sat with me for 2 hours, and she wasn't even related to me. But my own family, my own blood. You couldn't be bothered. "That's in the past," Mom finally said, but her voice had lost all its earlier sweetness. "We can't change what happened. But we can move forward." "You're right. We can't change what happened. But I can choose what happens next." I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the city that had given me everything they never would. "Remember when you broke my arm and Mom said good? Remember how funny you thought that was? Remember how proud you were of putting me in my place? Lily, please. That's exactly how much help you're getting from me now. Good luck with your eviction notices." And I hung up. They called back. Of course they did. Mom left 17 voicemails, each one cycling through anger, bargaining, guilt, and desperation. Ryan sent text after text, alternating between apologetic messages about how sorry he was and angry demands about how I owed them because we were family. I blocked both numbers. Mrs. Rodriguez called me that evening. At 73, she was still the same compassionate woman who'd found a broken 13-year-old in a basement and demanded answers. "I heard about your grandmother's passing, Mija. She was a good woman. And I heard about the will too. The whole neighborhood's talking. I imagine they are. Your mother came by today. She was crying, asking if I could talk to you. She said you were being cruel, abandoning your family when they needed you most." I closed my eyes, remembering how this woman had been more of a mother to me in one day than my own mother had been in 13 years. "What did you tell her?" I told her the truth. I told her I remembered a little girl who waited 20 minutes for help while her family watched TV upstairs. I told her some people earn their blessings and some people earn their consequences. 3 months later, I established the Pearl Washington Foundation, dedicated to helping children from broken homes access education and healthcare. The foundation's first scholarship recipient was a 14-year-old girl whose older brother had pushed her down a flight of stairs during a fight over a cell phone. He wanted to become a doctor. I never heard from Mom or Ryan again directly, though occasionally mutual acquaintances would mention that they'd asked about me. I never asked back. Sometimes, late at night in my beautiful house with my incredible view, I think about that 13-year-old girl lying alone in the dark, broken and bleeding, learning the hardest lesson of her young life. I wish I could go back and tell her that someday she'd have the power to choose her own family. That blood might be thicker than water, but it's not thicker than concrete. And sometimes, that's exactly what it takes to build a foundation strong enough to last. Time for the real talk. Do you think Lily will regret this decision in 10 years, or did they just save their own sanity? Let me know where you stand in the comments. And if you love watching people finally stand up to bullies, subscribe and hit that bell, because I've got more stories that'll restore your faith and backbone.